Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
Antifa exists.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that. And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people. Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that. You're dying. That's true. And it is what it is.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm about to be 34 and I have no family.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes. Those votes were put there a number of hours. $25 million to combat Asian carp. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened.
That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch Hillary examine the terrain. And Tim Kaine, Tim Kaine, Tim Kaine in the rain. Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch a campaign with the man Tim Kaine, Tim Kaine in the rain. Tim Kaine in the rain.
No good. No good.
Not good. Believe me, not good. Not good. Believe me, not good.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by the go. You know the thing.
Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch a campaign with the man Tim Kaine, Tim Kaine. membrane.
Hello, users, and welcome to the broadcast. This is Above It All 1083. The House is currently live debating impeachment, and we're going to try our best real quick to catch up. So, let's see what we got.
Loyalty that these...
Abby, we'll have to end it there.
Calendar number 2, House Resolution 24, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States. Demand for division. House Resolution 8, 28. Each place that it appears, and in...
From Massachusetts is recognized for 1 hour.
All right, everyone.
Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from Oklahoma.
Oh, I should probably put my microphone in front of my face. Hey! Whoa, that might make things a little bit better. How's everyone doing? I don't know if you could hear me last time.
Debate only.
I got my hat on.
I ask unanimous
because I'm
consent
cool.
that all members be given 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, today the Rules Committee, yesterday the Rules Committee met and reported a closed rule, House Resolution 41, providing for consideration of H.Res. 24, impeaching Donald John Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors.
Let's go, let's go.
The rule provides 2 hours of debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on the Judiciary. The rule also provides that upon adoption of H.Res. 24,
So again, I'm about 20 minutes behind. I'm going to watch at 2 times speed. So we're going to see if we can get live, okay? So I know that it's not caught up, but let's try to get out, okay?
Finally, the rule extends recess instructions, suspension authority, and same-day authority through February 11th.
Should only take like 10 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, we are debating this historic measure at an actual crime scene, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the President of the United States. On Wednesday, January 6th, Congress gathered here to fulfill our constitutional duty, tallying the Electoral College victory of President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris after a free and fair election. This is largely a ceremonial role for the Congress, one that sends a message to the world that democracy in the United States persists. But at a rally, just a mile and a half down Pennsylvania Avenue, Donald Trump and his allies were stoking the anger of a violent mob. A member of this very body proclaimed on that stage, "Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass." Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, called for a trial by combat. Then, Donald Trump told the crowd, "We're going to have to fight much harder. You will never take back our country with weakness." Even though, according to his own administration, that this election was the most secure in our history, Donald Trump repeated his big lie, that this election was an egregious assault on democracy.
Love it.
Vice President Pence, he said, was going to have to come through for us. Trump then told this mob to walk down to the Capitol. The signal was unmistakable. These thugs should stage a coup so Donald Trump can hang on to power. The people's will be damned. This beacon of democracy became the site of a vicious attack. Rioters chanted, "Hang Mike Pence," as a noose and gallows were built a stone's throw from the Capitol steps. Capitol police officers were beaten and sprayed with pepper spray. Attackers hunted down lawmakers to hold them hostage or worse. Staff barricaded doors. People sent text messages to their families to tell them they loved them. They thought they were saying goodbye, Mr. Speaker. This was not a protest. This was an insurrection. This was a well-organized attack on our country that was incited by Donald Trump. Domestic terrorists broke into the United States Capitol that day, and it's a miracle more people didn't die. As my colleagues and I were being evacuated to safety, I never, ever will forget what I saw when I looked into the eyes of those attackers right in the Speaker's lobby there. I saw evil, Mr. Speaker.
I just want to say, can we talk about Max the dog? Look at this. Look at that dog. Holy shit. Oh my God, that dog is destroying the duck.
Our country came under attack, not from a foreign nation, but from within. These were not protesters, these were not patriots, these were traitors. These were domestic terrorists, Mr. Speaker. And they were acting under the orders of Donald Trump. Now, some of my colleagues on the other side have suggested that we just move on from this horror. But to gloss over it would be an abdication of our duty. Others on the Republican side have talked about unity. But we can't have unity without truth and without accountability. And I'm not about to be lectured by people who just voted to overturn the results of a free and fair election. America was attacked, and we must respond, even when the cause of this violence resides at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Each of us took an oath last week. It wasn't to a party, and it wasn't to a person. We vowed to defend...
I just want to say, I'm gonna blog. I saw some very questionable things when I was walking Max just like 10 minutes ago. I think one of my neighbors is abusing their animals. I'm gonna start doing more reconnaissance on my neighbor. But if you're my neighbor and you're watching, I'm watching, right? But yeah, Max was getting like really upset because he could hear dog noises, and I think I heard dogs fighting, but I couldn't see. So, but it sounded like it. But either way, this is my very uncomfortable morning experience. So I don't know. But anyway, I thought I would blog about that. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure exactly what neighbor it is yet, but I'm going to be doing some investigative reporting. So we'll see how that goes.
In the Constitution. The actions of Donald Trump have called each of us to fulfill that oath today. I pray that we rise to this responsibility because every moment Donald Trump is in the White House, our nation, our freedom is in danger.
Agreed. Agreed. We should have impeached him literally like a week ago. I don't know why it took a week to impeach the motherfucker. Hello?
For the attack on our Capitol that he organized and he incited. I solemnly urge my colleagues to support this rule and the underlying article. The damage this building sustained can be repaired, Mr. Speaker. But if we don't hold Donald Trump accountable, the damage done to our nation could be irreversible. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Massachusetts reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I begin my formal remarks, I want to ask for God's blessing and protection on you, for my friend Mr.
I want to ask for God's blessing. Are you referring to Donald Trump? What?
All who come to this chamber today to speak and to vote, for
God!
the wonderful staff that makes this possible, and most especially for the men and women of the Capitol Police and the other affiliated law enforcement agencies that are here to protect everybody and to make sure that this proceeding can go forward. With that, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, Wizard. That's part of my calculation for sure. But I want to make sure, I just want to make sure it wasn't like two dogs that got like let out or something, and it was like a natural occurrence, you know? Because I mean, that's bad enough. Like that's really bad, but like, it's not nearly as bad as organized. You know what I mean? So like, it could have just been, you know, I don't know. So like, I'll see if it happens again. Is my understanding.
Speaker, I want to thank the gentleman from Massachusetts, my very good friend, distinguished chairman of the Rules Committee, Mr. McGovern, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as I may consume. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, today is a sad day for all of us. For me personally, for the Rules Committee, for the entire House of Representatives, and most certainly for the American people. For the second time in 13 months, we're meeting to discuss the impeachment of the President of the United States. Our meeting today does not arise in a vacuum and comes at what I hope and pray is the end of a tumultuous period for our country. Less than 1 week ago, Congress met to certify the results of the 2020 presidential election. What started out as peaceful protest turned into a riot, as an untold number of individuals stormed the...
The only reason why it's an untold number is because the cops didn't arrest anyone, you dumb prick.
Acts of the U.S. Capitol Police, the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police, the FBI, the ATF, and other responding agencies, that there was not more bloodshed. Violent acts such as these have no place in our republic. These shocking and sobering events rest high on our minds today, as well they should. Certainly January 6, 2021 will live in my memory as the darkest day during my time of service as a member of this House. After these grave events, we as a nation and as an institution have an opportunity to come together. President Trump has conceded the 2020 election. Congress has certified the results of the election. And next Wednesday, President-elect Biden will be sworn in as the President of the United States. Congress and the nation can move forward knowing that the political process was completed as designed and the constitutional framework that has governed our republic since 1789 held firm. But instead of moving forward as a unifying force, the majority in the House is choosing to divide us further. With only a week to go in his term, the majority is asking us to consider a resolution impeaching President Trump. And they do so knowing full well that even if the House passes this resolution, the Senate will not be able to begin considering these charges until after President...
Impeachment is a joke of a process, should have removed him in early 2017. I agree. If we had, like, you know when they swear the oath to the Constitution, right? If we actually had a Congress that actually swore an oath to the Constitution and didn't just swear an oath to, like, the made-up Constitution they pretend to care about, but, like, the actual Constitution, right? Like, yeah, Trump would have been removed almost instantly, but clearly we don't.
Trump term ends. Mr. Speaker, I can think of no action the House can take that's more likely to further divide the American people than the action we are contemplating today. Emotions are clear.
What does that mean, further divide? This is what my problem with this rhetoric is. It's admitting that the Trump voters that stormed the Capitol, they're just average Americans. It's not like they're a white supremacist organization. No. They're just average Americans. Like, seriously? If anyone is willing to get their fucking panties in a bunch over impeaching Trump for trying to destroy the fucking government of the United States and overturn an election, I'm sorry, but you need to shut all the way the fuck up because these guys are dumb as shit. And the real thing is, again, they're beta males. These people marched into the halls of Congress chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Notice, by the way, that they never mention that. The Democrats mention it. The Republicans have no response. They don't say, well, they did try to kill my vice president of my party, but, I'm going to defend that because... No, they just ignore it. They just ignore it because this isn't an actual debate. It's just sound bites for Fox News.
Clearly running high, and political divisions have never been more apparent in my lifetime. We desperately need to seek a path forward, healing for the American people. So it's unfortunate that a path to support healing is not the path the majority has chosen today. Instead, the House is moving forward erratically with a truncated process that does not comport with the modern practice and that will give members no time to contemplate a serious course of action before us. In every modern impeachment inquiry, an investigation and committee action has preceded bringing an impeachment resolution to the floor. In part, this is to ensure that members have the full facts, the opportunity to engage expert witnesses, and have a chance to be heard. It also provides due process to the President of the United States. And again, in every modern impeachment inquiry, the President has been given an opportunity to be heard in some form or another. This is necessary in order to to ensure that the American people have confidence in the procedures the House is following. And it's also necessary, not because of the President's inappropriate and reckless words are deserving of defense, but because the presidency itself demands due process in the impeachment proceedings. Unfortunately, the majority has chosen to race to the floor with a new article of impeachment, foregoing any investigation, any committee process, or any chance for members to fully contemplate this course of action before proceeding. Professor Jonathan Turley is correct when he called this a, quote, dangerous snap impeachment, an impeachment that effectively would go to a vote without the deliberation or inquiries of the traditional hearing. Professor Turley also noted that, quote, the damage caused...
If someone thinks that you need a hearing, this isn't about a fucking phone call, dude. This isn't... You don't need to investigate. We saw the speech. We saw what happened after the speech. You don't need a hearing, bitch. Go look at my live stream. I streamed the whole thing. You don't need a fucking hearing. Oh, we need a hearing! Ah!
Caused by the rioters this week was enormous. However, it will pale in comparison to the damage from a new precedent of a snap impeachment.
Whoa. Did this dumb fuck McFuck shit just say that white supremacists attempting to assassinate lawmakers is less of a bad thing than impeaching the president because he told white supremacists to go assassinate lawmakers? What? Are you fucking kidding me?
The damage caused by the rioters this week was enormous. However, it will pale in comparison to the damage from a new precedent of a snap impeachment, unquote. If the majority is seeking consensus, this is hardly the way to create it. The majority is failing to provide the House with an opportunity to review all the facts, which are still coming to light, to discuss all the evidence, to listen to scholars, to examine the witnesses, and to consider precedents. This is not the type of robust process we have followed for every modern impeachment, and the failure to do so does a great disservice to this institution and to this country. Mr. Speaker, I can think of nothing that will cause further division more than the path the majority is now taking. Rather than looking ahead to a new administration, the majority is again seeking to settle scores against the old one. Rather than seeking to heal America, they're seeking to divide us more deeply. And rather than following the appropriate processes the House has used in every modern impeachment, the majority is rushing to the floor, tripping all over themselves in their rush to impeach the president a second time. What's worse, though the majority seems to believe that this course of action is self-evident, and that's simply not the case. I have to tell them it's not. Members that have reviewed the same conduct have come to dramatically different conclusions. Legal scholars like Professor Turley and Professor Alan Dershowitz, both of whom condemned the president's statements, believe that...
Alan Dershowitz? What?
Not impeachable. I know other scholars have different points of view. Given this difference of opinion, shouldn't we have a better process than this? Shouldn't we have a chance to examine witnesses, discuss the matter with legal scholars?
I really gotta stop pausing.
The matter is grave and consequential.
I'm sorry.
Shouldn't we follow the same process we have used in every modern impeachment rather than rushing to the floor? On behalf of generations of Americans to come, we need to think more clearly about the consequences of our actions today. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, there is no reason to rush forward like this, other than the very obvious fact that there are only 7 days left until a new president takes office. But what's worse,
if you don't impeach this president for trying to overthrow the election, another one's going to do so. Dumb motherfucker.
1 hour
dumb
after President Trump leaves office.
Only the really
dumb motherfucker. It doesn't matter what he's saying. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Dumb motherfucker. Dumb motherfucker. Dumb motherfucker. It doesn't matter what this guy's saying. It doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. He's a dumb motherfucker.
Do its job. Unquote. So what, then, is the point of the rush to impeach? We are coming off a horrific event that resulted in 6 deaths. We have an opportunity to move forward, but we cannot if the majority insists on bringing the country through the trauma of another impeachment. It will carry forward into the next president's term, ensuring that he will struggle to organize his administration.
Are you describing my stream, or are you watching my stream on 2x, which would be watching the House on 4x?
Continue to generate the bitterness so many
goddamn.
Why put us through that when we can't actually resolve this before the end of the president's term? Mr. Speaker, I think my colleagues in the majority need to think about this more soberly. We need to recognize we are following a flawed process. We need to recognize that people of goodwill can differ. We need to recognize that while the House may be done with this matter after today's vote, it will not be done for the country. It will not be done for the Senate, and it will not be done for the incoming Biden administration. The House's action today will only extend the division longer than necessary. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I would note that there are other remedies that can be pursued. The president is expected to face litigation over his role in last Wednesday's events. There will be criminal proceedings against the perpetrators, and I hope all of those who stormed the Capitol will be brought to justice. And some members have proposed an alternative procedure, censoring the president, which could garner significant bipartisan support in the House. I do not think impeachment is a...
Amendment 14, Section 3. Go.
Wise course, Mr. Speaker. I would urge my friends in the majority to reconsider. There's still time to choose a different path, one that leads to reconciliation and hope for a better and brighter days. With that, I urge opposition to the rule, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Oklahoma Reserve, gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert in the record the powerful statement by Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who is the chair of the House Republican Caucus, entitled, "I will vote to impeach the President."
Objection.
And I just want to be clear about one thing. If we vote to impeach the president today and we send it over to the Senate, there's nothing to prevent the Senate from taking it up immediately if Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell decides that he wants to proceed, number one. Number two, we want to talk about unity. I can't think of anything that would unify this country more if there was a big bipartisan vote in favor of impeachment. Every second that this president remains in office is a danger to this country and to the world. We have no idea what he is capable of doing, whether he'll pardon these terrorists, whether he will go to war. So I urge all my colleagues on both sides to support this rule in the impeachment resolution. I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Chu.
Only recognized for 1 minute.
Last week, I hid in an office for hours, terrified to open the door because I did not know if a rioter was on the other side ready to attack, kidnap, or murder me. But my experiences were just the tip of the iceberg. The U.S. Capitol was targeted, besieged, and ransacked on January 6th by a murderous mob holding a noose for Vice President Pence and targeting Speaker Pelosi. Their rampage resulted in destruction and 5 people dead. We were attacked by terrorists, but this time the terrorists...
6 if you count the one cop that killed themselves. Apparently people are doubting that the cop actually killed themselves, but throwing that out there.
Were radicalized right here in the United States. Worse, they were radicalized by the president, who intentionally lied to his supporters that the election was stolen and then told them when to come to D.C., where to protest, and who to direct their anger at. The need to remove this president could not be more urgent. He is too dangerous to remain in office. Donald Trump must be held accountable. He must be impeached.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we defeat the previous question, I'll offer an amendment to the rule to immediately bring up a resolution establishing a bipartisan national commission on the domestic terrorist attack on the United States Capitol. This proposed bipartisan commission will be tasked with examining and reporting upon the terror attack on our Capitol that occurred last Wednesday. The commission will be bipartisan.
When you've got Republicans like Lauren Boebert that said, hey, Nancy Pelosi's over there, y'all, I don't trust the bipartisan commission. 14th Amendment, Section 3. Everything else is a waste of time.
In nature, modeled after the 9/11 Commission, and will fully be empowered to undertake a full investigation and make recommendations
to the President and the Congress. Coffee elephant. I just finished the coffee elephant. I'm sorry.
Evidence and reports back to us on this horrific event. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment in the record, along with extraneous material immediately prior to the vote on the previous question. With that, I urge. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I urge a no vote on the previous question. I yield 4 minutes to my good friend, Mr. Davis of Illinois, the ranking Republican member on House Administration, for a further explanation of this amendment.
The gentleman from Illinois is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first want to thank the U.S. Capitol Police and Sergeant at Arms employees who were here on the front lines protecting this Capitol last week during the unprecedented attack. It is imperative that we focus on ensuring a safe inauguration day.
Fun Police, $199.
And making sure that our Capitol Police officers have the support.
Yeah, the comments
are great. We need to ensure that what we saw happen a week ago today
never
happens again. Yesterday, I introduced, along with Representatives Katko and Comer, a bill that would create a national commission on the domestic terrorist attack upon the United States Capitol. The bipartisan commission would consist of 10 members, 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, appointed by the next president and by House and Senate leadership. This commission would be tasked with...
Why do we need to have a bipartisan fucking bullshit? Dude, the Democrats control the House, the Democrats control the Senate, the Democrats are gonna control the fucking presidency. What is this bipartisan shit? Dude, you lost. You've got no power. Like, oh, but bipartisan? Like, what? There's no there's one partisan, the Democratic Party. Like, what?
Investigating the domestic terrorist attack that occurred in this building just a week ago. And it will provide us recommendations to prevent similar attacks from happening in the future. What we saw last week scared all of us who were here. It also showed adversaries what it takes to take out a branch of government. When this commission is done with this investigation, it will submit a report to the President and to Congress detailing its findings and recommendations to ensure that no foreign or domestic adversary could accomplish what was done on January 6th. We need to ensure that we fully understand what took place last week and any and all issues that occurred during our response. Republicans and Democrats need to work together. We must unite to prevent any attacks like this from happening in the future, and we must protect this institution, not just for us, for the American people. That's why we should defeat the previous question so that we can establish this bipartisan commission to equip us with the information that we need to support our Capitol Police and the men and women who work in these buildings. And with that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Maryland, the Majority Leader, Mr. Hoyer.
The gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the Chairman of the Rules Committee for yielding. I congratulate him for his efforts and that of the Rules Committee in acting swiftly. I appreciate the remarks of Mr. Cole, for whom I have great respect, but I disagree with his sense of a lack of urgency in action. I do agree with him of the consequences of our action. There are consequences to actions, and the actions of the President of the United States demand urgent, clear action by the Congress of the United States. The Chairman of the committee introduced the remarks and put them in the record. But I want to reference the remarks of the Chair of the Republican Conference, which is the analog to the Democratic Caucus. It is all the Republicans elected to the Congress of the United States and the House of Representatives. And they elected Liz Cheney, the daughter of the Vice President of the United States, the former whip of this House, Dick Cheney, with whom I served in the 80s. Representative Cheney from Wyoming, a conservative Republican, said this: the President of the United States summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. That is not some irresponsible new member of the Congress of the United States. This is the daughter of the former Republican whip and former Vice President of the United States of America. She knows of what she speaks.
This whitewashing of the Cheneys.
Well. There has never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath of Constitution, to the Constitution. This is not, as Liz Cheney says, just some action. She characterized it as the biggest betrayal of any president of the United States in our history. Mr. John Katko, not a backbench Republican who just got here and doesn't know what's going on. Mr. John Katko, who is the ranking Republican on the Homeland Security Committee, says this: to allow the President of the United States to incite this attack without consequences is a direct threat to the future of democracy. This is not some backbencher on your side of the aisle, on their side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker. It reflects the sense of outrage, the sense of historic dissimilarity from the actions of any previous president. And then Mr. Adam Kinzinger.
Hey, Bodan. Not really.
A senior member from Illinois. So I have a member from Wyoming, a member from Illinois, and a member from New York. There will be others on this vote who will join them. And Mr. Kinzinger said this: if these actions, he hasn't had any hearings, he doesn't need any long, drawn-out consideration. If these actions are not worthy of impeachment, then what is an impeachable offense? There is no doubt in my mind that the President of the United States broke his oath and incited this insurrection. I tell my friend, Mr. Speaker, a gentleman for whom I have great respect, he is my friend, and I say that honestly, not just as rhetoric, as we say on this floor, because there's some that I don't consider friends, whose values I do not share.
All right.
That is not all right. We have a difference. Liz Cheney, John Katko, Adam Kinzinger, and other Republicans whom I have talked to within the last 24 hours believe this action is required. Now, let me say, I see the gentleman from Ohio is on the floor. He likes to say that we Democrats were elected and the first thing we wanted to do was impeach this president. And he's shaking his head in agreement because, like the President of the United States, he denies the facts. Trump-like. Fake news. December 6, 2017. Mr. Green, who I'm going to refer to, offered a motion because he saw the danger that confronted our country. And he filed a resolution of impeachment. And on December 6, 2017, we had a vote on that. And the majority of Democrats voted no. Actually, they voted yes to table. So that we did not proceed in 2017. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, thought, however, the next year that there was still a danger to our country. Some of us shared that view. But we were not confident that the case could be made or that the transactions that had proceeded would lead to conviction. So on January 19th of 2018, we had a motion to table Mr. Green's resolution. And the majority of Democrats voted to table that resolution. What a rush to judgment. And then on July 17th, 2019, 9 days before the call to Ukraine to get the Ukrainian leader to act on the political behalf of the President of the United States, and withheld money to defend the Ukrainian people from Russian involvement, and offered that as a bribe.
I just want to say, I legit can't believe that they impeached this guy over the Ukraine phone call. Right? Like, wow. Have I had coffee? Yeah, I just finished my first cup. But, wow, they should have impeached him on so many different things. The Ukraine call, or like, I understand, right? It's a bad call, right? But, like, my God, they should have done so much more.
And on July 17th, the majority of Democrats voted to table that resolution. So, Mr. Speaker, there was no rush to judgment. And then that call to which I just referred was on July 26th, 9 days later. I call that the aha moment. Yes, I knew what I thought, but that was proof. And the gentleman, some gentlemen have lamented that we didn't know the whistleblower, because after all...
Can we still impeach Donald Trump for the Georgia call? Remember, fined 11,780 votes? Can we impeach him for the Georgia call? Remember that? Anyone? Remember, it was like 3 days before January 6th. Does anyone remember that? I do.
Knew the whistleblower. We can intimidate everybody else from coming forward. And this president has done everything he can to intimidate whistleblowers. People came forward and told the truth. And we had witness after witness after witness who confirmed what the whistleblower brought to our attention. So the reason I rise today, and I'm going to speak on the resolution itself at some later time, is to recognize the contributions that Al Green of Texas has made to getting us to this place. And I just want to, I'm not going to read all of the resolution, but I want to read some excerpts from the resolution he has introduced. We won't be considering his resolution. We'll be considering Mr. Cicilline and over 200 others who have signed on to the resolution. Mr. Green had a resolution when introduced, resolved that Donald Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and the following articles of impeachment be exhibited in the Senate. Article 1 says, in his conduct with the President of the, in his conduct while President of the United States, unmindful of the high duties of his high office and dignity and proprieties thereof, and of the harmony and courtesies necessary for stability, to which my friend spoke, the gentleman from Oklahoma, John Trump, in violation of his constitutional and faith.
I would honestly prefer them to impeach the motherfucker on literally everything. I don't care. Like, me personally, like, throw a little bit of stimulus in there, impeach the motherfucker. Impeach the motherfucker. Give us another check, impeach the motherfucker again. Hey, maybe, I don't know, do some climate change legislation. And then also then after that, impeach the motherfucker again. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the first year or 2 years of Biden's administration should be impeaching Donald Trump and every Republican who enabled him individually as much as possible. That's my opinion.
Both faithfully to execute the office of president, has harmed the society of the United States, brought shame and dishonor to the office of the President of the United States, sowing discord among the people of the United States by weaponizing hate for political gain. He went on to say on January 6, 2021, in a speech at the National Mall, President Donald Trump weaponized the hate that resulted in violence, the deaths of multiple people, an assault on democracy, and an insurrection against the capital of the United States of America by inciting a mob. Who said that? Liz Cheney said it, and Al Green said it. Infected with white supremacists, carrying a rebel flag, erecting a gallows structure with a noose, wearing shirts and hateful messages, such as Camp Auschwitz.
So, can someone tell me what a white supremacist is? Like, I know the term is white supremacist, but I have heard multiple people say white supremacist. Can someone give me the etymology on that?
Work brings freedom. And MAGA, Civil War, January 6, 2021. MAGA, Civil War. They had the hats on of the army of MAGA, which I refer to as Make America Grieve Again. We grieved at Fort Sumter. We grieved on December 7th, 1941, and we grieved on 9/11. And yes, we grieved on January 6th.
What about grieving for the, hundreds of thousands of coronavirus victims? Right? Oops.
Of this year. He goes on to say what the president told this mob that Liz Cheney said was recruited by the president of the United States. And I quote, this is the president talking to this mob. All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by a bold and radical left Democrats.
I know the definition of white supremacist. I mean, like, the difference between supremacist and supremacist. Steny Hoyer is not the only person I know that says supremacist. I'm
the Secretary of State in Georgia and the governor of Georgia, which is what they are doing, and stolen by the fake news media, inciting, riling up, creating anger with the fake news and lies that the President of the United States said to these folks. That is what they have done and what they are doing, the President continued. We will never...
Apparently, white supremacist is not a thing. It does not exist. So, oops.
Give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. And so what did they do? Incited by this president, as Liz Cheney said, as John Katko said, as Adam Kinzinger said, and frankly, what Secretary Chao acted upon, and what the Secretary of Homeland Security acted upon, and what so many others in the administration have acted upon, disgusted, dismayed, and disheartened by what their president had done. They got out.
And then they have cans of soup.
The president further emboldened them saying, this is the green resolution. We're not considering it, but it's a green resolution. The president further emboldened them saying, you will never take back our country with weakness. We had a display of non-weakness, criminal, insurrection-like conduct, recruited by and deployed by the President of the United States to come to this Capitol and stop the steal. The steal, of course, was we assembled, accepting what all the courts that considered it said was a fair and accurate election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as President and Vice President of the United States. After his National Mall speech, a mob of his supporters proceeded to the Capitol complex. We know that. And so Mr. Green's resolution ends with, wherefore, to prevent national harm to our society, Donald John Trump by such conduct warrants immediate impeachment trial and removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States Constitution and the 14th Amendment. So in conclusion, Mr. Green is going to speak after me, but in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, let me tell my friend Mr. Cole. I've been here some time, he has as well. I've served with Ronald Reagan, with George H.W. Bush, and George Bush. I had respect for all.
If you're going to say you have respect for George H. Dubs and then Ronald Reagan, Steny Hoyer, shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Just shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Fuck off.
Of those presidents. They cared about our country. They honored our Constitution. And they executed the duties of their office consistent with the Constitution and laws.
No, they didn't.
That is not true.
Nancy Pelosi knew that this motherfucker lied us into the Iraq war, didn't impeach him, and what is the result of not holding George W. motherfuck accountable? You get Steny Hoyer out there saying, my good friend, my friend George W. Fucking bullshit.
True of this president. And therefore, he ought to be removed. And we have that opportunity to do so. Is there a little time left? Yes. But it is never too late to do the right thing. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Maryland yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Speaker, at this point, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman.
You're going to clap for that?
That's just my good friend, Mr. Green.
Really? You're going to clap?
Get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had tears to well in my eyes as I heard Mr. Hoyer And I know that hearts are hurting. It's a very sad time in the history of our country. No one is celebrating. No one wants to see this occur. I was at the Rules Committee by way of Zoom. I was there for the entire hearing. Those members on the other side, this is something that they understand and they take seriously. Regardless of what's said, I could sense that they're hurting too. So I just want to...
I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. Shut all the way the fuck up. Yeah, I know they're publicly saying the election was stolen and that Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong. But privately, in the Zoom call, they looked a little sad. Shut the fuck up.
Thank everyone for all that has happened and the appreciation that's been shown. And I want to say that the healing that we talk about, it has to begin. May I have just 30 seconds?
I yield the gentleman 30 seconds. Gentleman has additional 30
Thank
seconds.
you. The healing, it has to start with some of these people who were there initially, who helped to lay this foundation, 110 people. I want to recognize Maxine Waters, Congresswoman. A lot of them were threatened. Their lives were disrupted.
Nicholas Nordland, do you have a source for that? Can you send that to me?
And if I may, with unanimous consent, I'd just like to insert their names in the record.
Without objection.
I thank you, and may God bless our country as we go forward.
Gentleman from Texas yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my good friend, distinguished Republican member, our leader of the Budget Committee, Mr. Smith of Missouri.
Gentleman from Missouri is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we defeat the previous question, we will amend the rule to immediately...
Panic buttons were inexplicably torn out ahead of Capitol riots, says the Alyssa Presley? What? Independent? Panic buttons installed in Alyssa Presley's... Last time I checked, her name was not Alyssa. Good article from the Independent, though. Last time... Hey, maybe I'm wrong, but they... the Independent... Hold up, let me get this on screen, hold up. The Independent legit called this bitch Alyssa Presley? Damn, that's a little racist, I'm gonna be honest. Panic buttons installed in Alyssa Presley. Even in the headline, it's in the headline, dude. Is there another member of Congress named Alyssa Presley that I don't know about? That just happens to have a very similar name? What? Like, I can't, dude. That's a little... Anyway, that's really fucked up.
bring up the bill establishing a bipartisan national commission on the domestic terror attack of the United States Capitol.
We don't need a bipartisan commission, you dumb bitch. You don't own anything, you asshole. Oh, look at me. I'm the minority party. Give me power. What?
Week for our nation. Just last week, we stood right here in this very chamber while a violent mob laid siege to the seat of American democracy. It is vital we get the facts on what went wrong last week, why the security apparatus failed, and how we can ensure it never happens again. Less than 50 feet from where we stand in this room, a young lady lost her life through those doors. Through those doors. I was in this chamber when those gunshots rang. That is real stuff. That should never happen in the people's house. For the first time, can the House Democrats and the Speaker of the House put the people before politics? Please put the people before politics. At a time when our nation is more divided than ever before, let's put people before politics. President Trump, let's operate, only bring up that...
Oklahoma is recognized. Gentleman, Oklahoma reserve.
I'm sorry, just fuck that guy.
Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let me remind all of my colleagues that what happened on Wednesday would not have happened if it weren't for the occupant in the White House. And if we want to put the people first, we all ought to vote to impeach him and remove him from office as soon as possible. With that, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Brownlee.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today is a defining moment in our history. Congress was attacked by a mob directed by the President of the United States. It was a horrible, terrifying situation, but we all know deep in our hearts that it could have been much, much worse. We simply cannot let it stand. We cannot let it stand for the very soul of our democracy. We cannot let the President of the United States leave office without acting. We are the oldest constitutional republic in the world, and our capital is the sacred symbol of our great democracy. To my colleagues across the aisle, I appeal to your sense of service and duty to our nation and to the oath we all swore to uphold. Before we are Democrats and Republicans, we are Americans. Let us come together to fulfill our oath by voting for the resolution before us and by defending, preserving, and honoring our democracy. I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to one of our new members, distinguished gentlelady from South Carolina, Ms. Mason. Note that this is her first speech on the House floor.
Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is not the reason why I wanted to give my first speech in our chambers, in our hallowed halls. This is not what I wanted to do in my first week in office. But after the violent events of last week, watching and witnessing how heartbreaking this was, thank God I sent my kids home on Monday morning because I was worried about the rhetoric leading up to the events and to the rally on January 6th, the violence that could transpire. Not only were our lives in danger, but if my kids were here, their lives would have been in danger too. The two most precious people in my life. Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States, the U.S. House of Representatives has every right to impeach the President of the United States. But what we're doing today, rushing this impeachment in an hour or 2 hour long debate on the floor of this chamber, bypassing judiciary, poses great questions about the constitutionality of this process. I believe we need to hold the president accountable. I hold him accountable for the events that transpired, for the attack on our Capitol last Wednesday. I also believe that we need to hold accountable every single person, even members of Congress, if they contributed to the violence that transpired here. But today I'm asking my colleagues to remember the words of the legendary, the great leader in this country, Dr. Martin Luther King, who once said, "The time is always right to do what is right." And if we're serious about healing the divisions in this country, Republicans and Democrats need to acknowledge this is not the first day of violence we've seen. We've seen violence across our country for the last 9 months. And we need to recognize, number one, that our words have consequences. That there is violence on both sides of the aisle.
For a moment, I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. And then she's going to bring in Black Lives Matter. It's like, for a second, for a hot second, I was like, whoa, Republican. Whoa, what's happening here? And then all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter.
Contributed to it. We need to take responsibility for our words and our actions. We need to acknowledge there's a problem, take responsibility for it, and stop being part of the problem and start being part of the solution. God bless every member in the chamber today, and God bless the United States of America. I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma Reserve. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Vermont, Mr. Welsh.
Gentleman from Vermont is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, our government is founded on the principle all power flows from the people. Donald Trump challenged this principle in 2 ways: deceit and violence. The deceit is repeated in
quoting Martin Luther King to attack Black Lives Matter. Love to see it, right? But I mean, like, she said that she wants to hold people in Congress accountable. And coming from a Republican, though, saying you want to hold people in Congress accountable, I'll take it. Like, I'll take it.
Baseless assertion of an electoral fraud. The violence, the attack on the United States Capitol on January 6th. The mob was assembled by Donald Trump, incited by Donald Trump, and in service of Donald Trump's effort to overturn, through violence, what he lost at the voting booth. The violent mob breached the Capitol, killed and injured Capitol Police, destroyed property, threatened the Vice President, members of Congress, and staff, all to obstruct the peaceful transfer of power. If we want unity, we must have accountability. So the question before this Congress, will Congress condone through acquiescence or condemn through impeachment Donald Trump's violent acts to overturn the election?
Gentleman, time's expired. Gentleman from Massachusetts is reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the distinguished Republican leader of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan of Ohio.
Gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 2 minutes.
One of the reasons that I'm so smart is because I watch all my podcasts at 2x speed. That's how I gain so much knowledge. All you dumb mofos out there, oh, I'm going to listen at 1 time speed. Look at me. 2 times speed. Look what it's done. Just saying. Just saying.
Thank the gentleman for yielding, Mr. Speaker. In his opening remarks, the Democrat chair of the Rules Committee said that Republicans last week voted to overturn the results of an election. Guess who the first objector was on January 6, 2017? First objector, the Democrat chair of the Rules Committee. And guess which state he objected to? Alabama. The very first state called, Alabama. President Trump, I think, won Alabama by like 80 points. Actually, he won by 30 points. They can object to Alabama in 2017, but tell us we can't object to Pennsylvania in 2021? Pennsylvania, where the state Supreme Court just unilaterally extended the election to Friday? Pennsylvania, where the Secretary of State unilaterally changed the rules, went around the legislature in unconstitutional fashion? Pennsylvania, where county clerks in some counties...
Is that true? Is that true? Is that? I'm looking that up.
Imagine which counties they were. Let people fix their ballots against the law. Cure their ballots, their mail-in ballots, direct violation of the law. And they tell us we tried to overturn the election. Guess who the second objector was in 2017? The individual managing the impeachment for the Democrats. Americans are tired of the double standard. They are so tired of it. Democrats object to more states in 2017 than Republicans did last week, but somehow we're wrong. Democrats can raise bail for rioters and looters this summer, but somehow when Republicans condemn all the violence this summer, the violence last week, somehow we're wrong. And Democrats can investigate the President of the United States, as Mr. Hoyer went through, try to impeach him.
I can't find anything on Google, but it's also probably because, I don't know, but can someone look that up for me?
Investigating for 4 years, but will not look at an election that 80 million Americans, half the electorate, 80 million, Republicans and Democrats have their doubts about. I said this last night, I do not know where all this goes, and this is frightening for the country. We should defeat this rule, and we should defeat the impeachment resolution when it comes up.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from Oklahoma Reserve. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, some of us objected 4 years ago as a protest vote to raise concerns about what all of our intelligence agencies had stated clearly that Russia interfered in our election. But what the gentleman fails to acknowledge is that we all acknowledge that Donald Trump was the president the day after the election. Hillary Clinton conceded the day after the election. And none of us push conspiracy theories like some of my friends on the other side of the aisle have been doing in this president, that somehow the president won in a landslide. Give me a break. Yesterday in the Rules Committee, I asked the gentleman from Ohio if he would just say...
Now, I'm not a huge person when it comes to the objecting of the electoral count. I don't know this stuff, but if you want to object just to put something into the record, okay. I mean, I understand that, but there is definitely a tangible difference between objecting, saying the election was stolen, and objecting to put some like asterisk footnote in there. The idea that, Russia stole the election is obviously dumb as shit, right? But like, interesting follow-up.
5 simple words. He was talking about healing. The 5 simple words that you could say that would help heal this nation are that the election was not stolen. That's it. 5 simple words. He refused. He said he never said the election was stolen. Well, the evidence shows otherwise. Let me quote from this Dana Milbank piece entitled 5 pesky little words keep stumping Jim Jordan. And Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is this. This Capitol was stormed. People died because of the big lies that were being told by this president and by too many people on the other side of the aisle. Enough. People should be outraged as to what happened. It was unforgivable, unconscionable. And coming up on this floor and talking about whataboutism and trying to make these false equivalencies, give me a break. The President of the United States instigated an attempted coup in this country. People died. Everybody should be outraged, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. If this is not an impeachable offense, I don't know what the hell is. This president is not fit to remain in office. With that, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. DeFazio.
Gentleman from Oregon is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, gentlemen. This was not a one-off. It was a long time coming. It was a part of a plan to perpetuate Trump in office. Trump's campaign strategy was the election, the only way we can lose is if it's stolen. If it's stolen, it's fake, it's stolen, repeated by many of his fellow travelers on that side more than 150 times by Trump over the summer. Then they litigated to disqualify voters. That didn't work. Then they litigated to throw out ballots. Well, that didn't work. Then they attempted to delay the count and flip state legislatures. Well, that didn't work. Last ditch, the president called down to Georgia and said, can't you find me more votes? And then one last desperate plea. Stop the January 6th certification. And the president talked about that on September 26th. He said,
Y2K high, you're here early. Interesting.
Oh, if it goes to Congress, there's one vote per state, and we have an advantage. So I think this was part of a plan to disrupt the Electoral College of the United States. Giuliani, trial by combat. Trump, never take back our country with weakness.
Gentleman's time expired. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized. The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman is no longer recognized. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Damn,
Speaker.
destroyed,
Speaker, I yield
though.
3 minutes to my good friend, the gentleman.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, that was like an I will not yield moment right there. Like, but in the terms of, you know.
Pennsylvania, Mr. Ressenthaler, new member of the Rules Committee.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm deeply troubled by last week's attack on our Capitol, and I pray for the families of Officer Sicknick and Officer Liebengood. As I have been saying all summer long, violence and rioting has no place in America, and the criminals responsible for last week's rioting must be brought to justice. At a time when our nation is still healing, we must seek out issues to work on that unite us, rather than issues that further divide us. I was greatly encouraged to see our country unite in condemnation of last week's lawlessness and the rioting. I am further encouraged that despite my Democrat colleagues' claims to the contrary, President Trump is committed to a peaceful and uninterrupted transfer of power. But that's not good enough for my colleagues across the aisle. With just 7 days left in President Trump's term, they are fast-tracking impeachment proceedings, a move which will no doubt further divide an already fractured nation. Even House Democrats' last impeachment effort, which was rushed through in record time, at the very least that had expert input, depositions, hearings, and deliberation. This latest attempt at impeachment ignores all precedent and ignores all due process. It cannot be voted on in the Senate before Joe Biden is sworn into office. I'm also very concerned by the charge against the president of quote-unquote incitement of insurrection. At his rally, President Trump urged attendees to quote-unquote peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. There was no mention of violence, let alone calls to action. Look, I prosecuting terrorists in the Navy. I was a defense attorney in the Navy Jackal. I was a district judge. Just pull out the criminal statute. Look at the criminal code. President Trump's words would not even meet the definition of incitement under criminal statutes. The measure before us today says a dangerous precedent whereby political parties can justify impeachment simply because they do not agree with the president. I would therefore urge my colleagues across the aisle to just take a step back, let cooler heads prevail, and consider how the actions we're taking here today will alter the course of history, will lower an already low bar of impeachment for all future
Just wait for the next Capitol attack. Just chill out, sip a pina colada, just chill. Just wait for them to storm the next Capitol.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, when my friends talk about the president being committed to a peaceful transition, I just point to what happened on Wednesday when his words launched a violent attack against this Capitol, where 5 people lost their lives and many more were injured. So give me a break. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Texas, Ms. Jackson-Lee.
I thank you. Contrary to my good friend's words, the President of the United States is an insurrectionist. He led an insurrection against the United States of America. Prior to the January 6th attack by violent domestic terrorists, the President spoke to the crowd for 1 hour. And these were his words. These were his words, which is that we cannot take the nation back. We have to take the nation back with strength, and you must go and do that. Those were the paraphrase of his words.
We're almost caught up, y'all.
These domestic terrorists with words, with actions, and conduct that portray and have contempt and hostility to the national value of equal justice under the law. Telling domestic terrorists, nearly all of them were white supremacists, many of them who support him politically, who stormed the Capitol to derail Congress from completing its constitutionally required duty of counting and verifying the votes.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
She also said white supremacist? What is white supremacist?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my very good friend, the distinguished member of Georgia, Mr. Carter.
Gentleman from Georgia recognized 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in opposition to this effort to move forward with impeachment hearings. What happened on Wednesday, January 6th was nothing short of pure anarchy, and those individuals who broke the law should be held accountable.
It was not anarchy by definition, you dumb fuck. And if that's the case, then fire all the cops.
For their actions, they should be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law, and they should be put in jail. This was one of the saddest days of my life last Wednesday, Mr. Chairman.
Also, look at this guy's mask. This is like the worst attempt at wearing a mask ever.
Chairman, our thoughts and our prayers are with the police officers and other law enforcement who carried out their duties on that tragic day, including Officers Sicknick and Liebengood. Right now, our focus should be on healing our nation. With so many upset and dismayed at the actions of last week, it's our responsibility to chart a path forward to subdue the growing animosity and find ways to heal our country. Unfortunately, I don't believe this resolution will achieve those goals, especially 7 days ahead of the inauguration. This is very serious and concerning effort during such a tense and fragile time in our country. I urge my colleagues to consider how this will further entrench people during such a tense time. I cannot support this.
The gentleman will suspend. All members are reminded to wear face coverings while on the floor. All members and staff should be wearing face coverings while on the floor. Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 1/2 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Doggett.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 1/2 minutes.
For years, Donald Trump has honored thugs worldwide who suppress democracy. For months, with a daily diet of lies, he has made clear his refusal to accept any election in which he was not the winner. After failing completely in his repeated attempts to intimidate both Republican election officials into committing fraud and Republican-appointed judges into ignoring our Constitution, he made a desperate attempt last week to block the final election count and prevent the peaceful transition of power essential to democracy. Trump basically attempted to overthrow the government, to violently overthrow the first branch of government, this Congress. Like his deadly reaction to the pandemic, he totally bungled the deadly attack. Both his frenzied, riotous mob and his congressional enablers were defeated. America, we did stop the steal. We stopped Donald Trump from stealing our democracy.
So supremacist and supremacist go back to the 1800s. I see. Okay.
And imposing himself as a tyrant. Today, we not only demand accountability for his gross misconduct, but more importantly, we declare to the next Trump-like aspiring tyrant, not in America, we love our democracy too much. Our capital is scarred, but our democracy survives. Violating his sworn duty to protect and defend our Constitution by seeking to violently overthrow the government.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from Massachusetts
If this is not
reserves.
impeachable,
The gentleman
nothing
from
is.
Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I advise the chair have additional speakers on the way, but they're having a difficult time, so I will reserve my time.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserved. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Connecticut, Ms. DeLauro.
Gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized for 1 minute.
I love how all like the House members aren't in for the full debate. Like we're supposed to be debating this, right? Like this is all just sound bites, right? They're just doing their Fox News or Twitter posting here. But I just love how the idea someone would go to debate, right? And they just walk in halfway through the debate, they just walk in probably drunk and is like, I have a speech right here. All right. So the president did nothing wrong, and in the end, all right, see ya. I literally what the fuck? They should all be here. It should be mandatory appearance. Attendance even.
On November 3rd, the American people voted overwhelmingly for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to serve as President and Vice President of the United States. The country was about to enter a new era with great hope for change. And yet, with a decisive mandate and majority, the President used untruthful claims to end the completion of a constitutional process of collecting the electoral votes, making Joe Biden President of the United States. Not accepting the will of the American people, the President unleashed the most horrific violence that overwhelmed the security forces at this Capitol, which was overrun for the first time since 1812, putting the lives of so many at risk. Indeed, a day of infamy. This impeachment will be viewed as a transcendent vote where all will be judged. Vote to impeach the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Continue reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserved. From Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Castor.
The gentlewoman from Florida is recognized for 1 minute.
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to urge the impeachment of Donald Trump because the attack on the Capitol and the Congress was the single most depraved betrayal of the U.S. Constitution ever committed by a president.
Correct.
The traitorous incitement of an insurrection demands not just impeachment, but removal of office from office immediately. Violence during the transfer of power, Confederate flags, anti-Semitic paraphernalia desecrated this Capitol, so accountability must come swiftly. We must act with the same resoluteness we showed in the early morning hours after the insurrection, where we ensured the will of the voters was effectuated. Donald Trump's defiance.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserved. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Oh, fuck. God damn it. I was going to point out, this lady back here is really breathing heavily. Look at this mask. It's going in and out and in and out. That's incredible.
Impeachment, but removal of office from office immediately. Violence during the transfer of power, Confederate flags, anti-Semitic paraphernalia desecrated this Capitol, so accountability must come swiftly. We must act with the same resoluteness we showed in the early morning hours after the insurrection, where we ensured the will of the voters was effectuated. Donald Trump's defilement.
$2.99 from Waldorf. Impeach the MFer. Agreed. We got to impeach him for the Georgia call. Can't forget. Impeach him for Saudi Arabia emoluments. Can't forget. And, there's a bunch of other stuff. Maybe vetoing the War Powers Resolution. Why not, right? Fuck them, right?
Of this Capitol will not stand. It demands impeachment now. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserved. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to my very good friend, the distinguished gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Bishop.
Gentleman from North Carolina.
My very good friend.
2 minutes, Mr. Speaker.
For 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. These articles charge incitement. Once before, the House impeached the President of the United States within a week of the alleged offense. That was President Andrew Johnson, days after he removed Secretary of War Edwin Stanton in 1868. Over 50 years later, the Supreme Court declared unconstitutional the Tenure of Office Act that President Johnson had refused to obey. In other words, the House was not only hasty, it was wrong, punishing noncompliance with an unconstitutional law.
Motherfucker, are you serious? You're going to go back to Andrew Johnson? This motherfucker is going to go back to Andrew motherfucking Johnson. Are you kidding me? Andrew Johnson got impeached hastily, so therefore Donald Trump was in his rights to destroy the Capitol and overthrow the election. What?
At least when that occurred, the constitutionality of the law in question was unsettled. Here, however, an angry House majority races to impeachment in direct violation of settled constitutional law. Again, the articles before the House charge incitement to insurrection. They do not specify.
JL, $5. Impeach and lock up Trump. Lobotomize the rest of the...
Inciting language. The law is well...
Let's just put it this way. I don't think you need to.
Settled. Quote, what is required to forfeit constitutional protection is incitement speech that specifically advocates for listeners to take unlawful action. The violence last Wednesday was abhorrent. Perpetrators should be prosecuted. Those responsible for security decisions held accountable. Congress can disapprove, revile, condemn, even censure. But you cannot, consistent with the rule of law, punish that which the Constitution's First Amendment declares protected. If you do it, the violators of duty to this Constitution
Violators of duty
will be those who vote for this article of impeachment. It is not Mr. Green's article of impeachment. It is incitement. And the Constitution is settled on that point. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from Minnesota, Ms. Omar.
Gentleman from Minnesota is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Let's go.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr.
Hold the phone.
Speaker, let us not mince words about what happened last week. It was a violent attempt to interrupt our democratic process. It was a targeted blow at the most essential process that makes us a democracy. It was a direct and specifically incited by the President of the United States. For years,
That was a very poorly constructed sentence, but, you know, love Ilhan Omar, I'll let it slide.
We have been asked to turn a blind eye to the criminality, corruption, and blatant disregard to the rule of law by the tyrant president we have in the White House.
There you go, tyrant,
We
love
as
it.
a nation can no longer look away. The president not only incited an insurrection against our government, but has in word and deed led a rebellion. We cannot simply move past this or turn the page. For us to be able to survive as a functioning democracy, there has to be accountability. We must impeach and remove this president from the office immediately so that he cannot be a threat to our democracy. I stand ready to fulfill my oath of office. And I challenge my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to do the same. I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields. Gentleman from...
Pretty good, pretty good. Ian, $2. Thanks for slowing it on Ilhan. Here's the money. Stop giving me money, Ian. Stop it.
Massachusetts reserve. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We continue to reserve.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserve. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record a New York Times article published January 9th entitled, "Our President Wants Us Here, the Mob That Stormed the Capitol." It's another example of why our country cannot risk even one more day of Donald Trump.
Without objection.
I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California, Mr. Correa.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 1
Thank you,
minute.
gentlemen, for yielding in. Mr. Speaker, last week, Congress was under siege by a mob, motivated and directed by the President of the United States. Our Vice President was a target of that mob. Members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, were targets of this mob. And I witnessed, for this first time in my life, Americans fighting Americans, all at the behest of our own President of the United States. And as Americans, we...
Wait a second, you witnessed Americans fighting Americans for the first time in your life? Have you ever been to a bar? What?
do better. And I will vote for impeachment today for our nation, for our children, and for our grandchildren. And I'll be voting for impeachment so that America will once again be the shining city upon the hill whose beacon light guides freedom-loving people everywhere. I urge my colleagues to join me and vote for impeachment. With that, I yield.
The gentleman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts reserve. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I continue to reserve.
Satanic Panic, 99 cents. Devil emoji. All right. I like devils. I am a devil.
Gentleman from Oklahoma reserve. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
May I ask the gentleman how many more speakers he may have?
$2.
Whenever the gentleman's prepared to close, we'll close. We were hopeful that one of our speakers could arrive, but difficult circumstances, they're just having a hard time getting here.
I think we've exhausted all of our speakers, so
is my friend prepared to close?
Yes.
Then I'll close.
Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time. Speaker, I want to thank you for presiding over these difficult proceedings today. I want to thank my good friend, the distinguished chairman of the Rules Committee, and I want to thank everybody that came to the floor, had something to say at an important moment. And I think the debate, while spirited, reflected the civility and decency of the institution that we're all privileged to be part of. And I'm very proud to have been part of it, very proud of all the members and the manner in which they participated. I want again to thank the staff and thank those who kept us safe in the process, particularly the Capitol Police. Mr. Speaker, in closing,
I want to thank the Capitol Police for opening the damn gates, opening the damn doors, and letting them in. God bless those police officers. I love the police.
I oppose this rule, and I oppose the majority's actions today. After the traumatic events of last week, the majority should be taking steps to unite us. Instead, they're only dividing us further. They're rushing to judgment, in my opinion, and bringing up impeachment after failing to follow any meaningful process whatsoever. No hearings have been held.
Bodan, speaker refers to whoever is the role of speaker. It's a ceremonial role most of the time. So, like, for example, like you do something nice and Nancy Pelosi will make you speaker for the day. It's kind of like a little thing. Esports Nation, first of all, is here. Second of all, has given me 99 cents. Thank you very much.
No witnesses heard. No process or opportunity to respond was provided to the President. No members had an opportunity to review or amend this article before it came to the floor. This is hardly the way the House should undertake such a serious act. Mr. Speaker, there's still a way to unite the country. Let us look forward, not backward. Let us come together, not apart. Let us celebrate the peaceful transition of power to a new president rather than impeaching an old president. And let us affirm and reaffirm with one united voice that the House does not rush to judgment on the most consequential action we can take. We deserve better than that, Mr. Speaker, and the American people deserve better than that. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues, as they reflect on this minute, we move into our next stage of debate, to remember that we're all privileged to represent a great and a good people who've gone through a horrifying and tragic time, and that we owe them the opportunity to reflect, and we owe them our best efforts to bring together. I know people on this floor feel very passionately about this subject with different points of view. I honor each one of those points of view, and I honor the people that voice them. Let's remember when we're through this that we're one people, that we have one purpose, that we're free through the grace of God and millions of brave Americans over centuries of time, and we will remain that way, and we will move forward together once we settle this debate. With that, Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to vote no on the previous question, no on the rule, no on the underlying measure, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and let me thank my friend, the ranking member of the Rules Committee, Mr. Cole, for his friendship. Great respect for this institution. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible for me to fully capture the reverence that I have for the United States Capitol. You know, I worked on these grounds starting back when I was a college intern, working for Senator George McGovern back in 1977. No relation. Great last name. But since that time, I have done everything from working as a staffer for Congressman Joe Moakley of Massachusetts to being elected to the United States House of Representatives myself. But that internship will always be a high point of my life. Coming here for the first time, walking these hallowed halls, and seeing the glory of American democracy up close. The idea that someone would incite an out-of-control mob of homegrown fascists and domestic terrorists to desecrate the people's house fills me with a deep...
I like the F word. Y2K hot. It would be cool to get some coverage on how the rest of the world is viewing this. Side note, we want cat streams. Does this house cat love you? The cat does not belong to the house. The cat belongs to other people. The cat mostly just stays in the room. And they do not get along with Max. So in order for me to get cat content, Max would need to disappear. Sorry? Not
Sadness
happening.
for our
Thank
country.
you, though. Thank you.
The contempt that these people had for our democracy and our freedom fills me with horror. And what Donald Trump did, encouraging them, fills me with rage. Rage, not just on behalf of all of those serving here, but all of those who work in these halls. And I'm talking about the reporters, the cafeteria workers, the custodians, the clerks, the parliamentarians. I go on and on and on. And the staff, the Democratic staff, the Republican staff, the nonpartisan support staff, who were terrorized, some hiding under their desks and barricading in their offices. I was in the Speaker's chair the day this unfolded. And many of the people who are sitting up there now were present at that time. What a horrifying thing for anybody to have to experience. Now, some of my Republican friends have been trying to lecture us about unity here today. Unity, after they voted to overturn a free and fair election in the United States of America.
Yeah.
But also
right.
preaching unity and not acknowledging that for 4 years, many of them gave oxygen to Donald Trump's conspiracy theories, to the big lies. They turned the other way in the face of racism and bigotry and how he embraced some of the most intolerant voices in this country.
Correct? Correct.
They just let it go.
Yep.
You know, I will remind everybody here that words have consequences. And ignoring words that are wrong also have consequences. You know, what happened would never have happened if everybody stood up in unity and called out the president when he was not telling the American people the truth.
That,
when he was pushing a big lie.
Agreed. Big
We
lie.
will never have unity without truth
so
and also without accountability.
It's impressive, to be honest.
This week in Congress, we saw the best of us and the worst of us. Some of my colleagues have shown that they will defend this president no matter what he does. There's nothing that he could do that would dissuade them from all-out support. But some are standing up and doing the right thing under tremendous pressure, and I am proud of that, and I honor them for their courage. This impeachment resolution outlines the truth of what Trump did. It is time that this Congress now holds him accountable for his words and for their devastating impact. Last week, we took an oath to protect this nation. As history calls on us today, I pray that we all have the moral clarity to uphold it here today. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time, and I move the previous question on the resolution.
The question is on order and the previous question on the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, on that, I would request the yeas and nays.
Pursuant to Section 3S of House Resolution 8, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device.
All right, there you go. So I wait for the C-SPAN guy to come on because I don't know what the hell's going on here. So you're going to have to wait for the fucking C-SPAN looking Evan McMuffin guy or whoever it is this morning. Doesn't the guy that go on, like, this guy? Like,
less than 13 months since
no, that's not Evan McMuffin. This guy right here looks like Evan McMuffin, doesn't he? A little bit, right? Like no offense to them, but just saying.
Less than 13 months since the U.S. House of Representatives found President Trump guilty of 2 articles of impeachment, he is now facing 1 charge, 1 article of impeachment, incitement of insurrection for his actions before, during, and after last week's deadly domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol that left 5 people dead. Here's what's ahead today in the U.S. House. The first vote here, this is a procedural vote as Republicans seek to amend the rule for debate, adding a bipartisan national commission on the domestic terrorist attack on the U.S. Capitol. They are voting by proxy, as they did last night, and that may take some time. The first vote, for example, last night took nearly 1 hour. Following this vote, they will move on to vote on the rule, which would provide for 2 hours of debate on the impeachment resolution. We expect a final vote on impeachment sometime between the 3 and 4 o'clock hour Eastern this afternoon. You're watching live House coverage here on C-SPAN.
So I'm probably going to be covering this the whole day, but I might take this opportunity to read some news articles. What do you think? This is voting on a rule change for impeachment, I think. I don't know, man. They all like, the way it's explained is so baffling to me. I'll leave it on. But mute it. But yeah, so again, thank you all for joining me today so far. I'm planning on streaming a lot today. So, yeah. Cyber, do you ever think Trump will go to jail for anything he's ever done? I hope to God, but I am not holding my hat on. If I were to bet, I would bet no. Ian, actually, I'm probably going to talk about that. Is my phone close to the mic? Mic's getting stuff popping. It is, actually. It was right underneath the microphone. How did you know that? Is that a thing? What the fuck? I've never heard of that. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, let's get this article, little double, you know, little double.
In my opinion, it's never too late. So, little double sound deck. So that's the story, fellas.
Little double, fucking little double. I can't, dude. I can't. Fuck. I really cannot. Let's get this. So this is from Toller Road. I don't know. I just Googled this. So it's from Toller Road, whatever that is. I don't know. Bear with me. So yeah, Ayanna Pressley's chief of staff says that the panic button was torn out of the Congresswoman's office prior to U.S. Capitol attack. So we'll see here. Boston Globe story. Great. Let's go check that one out instead. Just kidding. Actually, just kidding. Can I go back? All right, let's go back. All right, Democratic Representative Ayanna Pressley's chief of staff said the panic buttons in her Congressional House office have been ripped out ahead of the pro-Trump insurrection on the U.S. Capitol. Blah, blah, blah. As people rushed out of other buildings on the Capitol grounds, staffers in Presley's office barricaded the entrance with furniture and water jugs that had piled up during the pandemic. Right? Okay. Sarah Grow pulled out gas masks and looked for the special panic buttons in the office. Every panic button in my office had been torn out. The whole unit, she said. Though they could come up with no rationale as to why, she had used them before and hadn't switched offices since then, as they were escorted to several different secure locations. Grow and Presley and her husband tried to remain calm and vigilant, not only rioters, but of officers they did not know or trust, she said. Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's like really fucking Jesus. What's this guy have to say?
The House has been using this system since very early in the pandemic, and they continue to use it. They used it last night, and some 65 or 70 members, including Republicans, voting by proxy. So as this vote continues, and it could be quite a long one, up to an hour or so, we're going to...
Yo, Tyson Cassie. Finally a live stream I can fap to. Thank you.
Try to show you some of the debate that just wrapped up. The initial debate on the one article of impeachment, the incitement of insurrection.
Yeah, I gotta sneeze.
We'll get a final
Holy
vote
shit.
later today. Let's hear from the majority leader, Steny Hoyer.
There are consequences to actions, and the actions of the President of the United
AOC did not speak. She took the words of No Doubt very seriously. Anyone else have anything that they news-wise? I didn't look at the news this morning because I was just going to stream the impeachment stuff. So, if anyone has any updates, let me know. This is pretty incredible, actually. Just walked into the Capitol to find literally hundreds of troops napping and lining up on the Congressional Visitor Center as streets around here are largely blocked. Many are cuddling their firearms, fatigues over their heads to block light, and riot gear in neat piles. It's a little weird. Show dog? Max! He's on the floor. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Hi folks, for licensing usage of my pic, please DM me. Well, do I count as professional media? I hope not. Anyway, that's weird. This is Nathaniel Reed. So, probably not your congressman because I'm pretty sure they're a reporter. Unless your congressman is a reporter. Of which case, interesting. The first woman to be executed in 50... I read about that, but I don't know the details. I think that's how they sleep when they're on a tour. Oh, I mean, sure. But, you know, still pretty scary. Hello, Observer Corp. How's it going? DM to stale scoop. This is a relatively stale scoop, but throw it on there in the intermission. Rep. Steve Scalise, the #2 Republican, told me that the situation is untenable because it impedes the ability of members to come and vote. This is our job. These are the lines. I don't know, just don't have guns. I bet, like, it's that simple, I guess. Just don't bring guns to the Capitol. Like, if you want to bring guns, I mean, get a different job, right? Like, if you want to bring a gun to work, be a cop or something. You don't need to be in Congress to bring a gun to work. Like, come on, man. Weird stuff. So this is the first vote by the House to impeach. In 3 hours, they will have the House debate to impeach. Yeah, this vote is basically to proceed with the debate on impeachment. And then they will debate impeachment. And then they will vote impeachment. I think that's the order. But this will probably be in and out for the next 6 hours. So, you know, I'll be covering it as much as I can. I will obviously need to take breaks. I will need to walk the dog. I will need to feed the dog. I will need to feed myself. Etc. Yeah, apparently YouTube banned Donald Trump. Interesting. Hey, JP11MS. How are you today? Could you tell me your take about Trump being banned on social media? I think it's funny. I think it's really, really, really funny. I loved when he was trying to log into different accounts. That was great. Hello, Kirasutina. Oof, sorry about that. Brakes are for dullards, agreed. Not a single person would dare have a Biden yard sign or bumper sticker. You people are afraid of us. What? There's plenty of Biden signs in my neighborhood. All the Trump signs are gone, but some of the Biden ones are still there. Just really funny. Trump shouldn't be banned. My thing is it dumb that Trump has got the ability to be banned on social media? Sure. But whether or not I say it's dumb doesn't change the fact that tech companies have this ability. So yeah, I think it's bad. But at the same time, they ban trans people on Twitter for defending themselves against so-called radical feminists all the time. Like, if you follow any number of trans people on Twitter, chances are you're going to have to interact with them on multiple accounts. Like, I know several people that are on, like, their 8th account. So, I mean, tech companies have been censoring people forever. I think focusing on this now is dumb because it centers Donald Trump as a victim and it buys into right-wing propaganda, which I just think is a bad idea, personally. Which is why I just think it's funny. Plain and simple, I just think it's funny. I don't take that seriously. If, like, you know? Yeah, big tech shouldn't have the right to ban everyone, but they do. And they have for 10 years. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think now is the time to talk about it. I don't, because if we talk about it now, it centers Donald Trump as a victim, and I disagree with that. Hello, Max. Got Max the dog. Come on, Maxie. Max does this thing where he gets up with his head. Like, look at him get on the bed. Check this out. He's gonna, like, use his head to prop himself. Or he's just gonna sit on the floor. Okay, he's just gonna scratch himself. I don't think Max is coming on the bed. Max! Look at his head. Max! No, he does not want to come on the bed. Max, do you hate me? You can't see it, but he's licking me. Ugh. Today is my birthday. Say happy birth in Portuguese. Eu mamo rola. Hopefully I did it. That motherfucker got my hand all slimy. But yeah, happy birthday. That's awesome. I can't imagine being born on January 13th. That's some fucked up shit, but happy birthday. As far as big tech shit goes, I would prefer a scenario where you cannot be banned on social media. But we do not live in that scenario. So my thing is, again, it's about focusing a conversation. I think we all agree that censorship is bad. Right? But again, I feel like centering that conversation right now buys into right-wing propaganda. I would much rather talk about how Donald Trump tried to fucking kill everyone in Congress than him being banned on Twitter. because that, again, it makes him look like a victim. It centers the conversation around Donald Trump, and it's distracting from what's more important, is that these people are planning multiple Capitol attacks. They're planning to attack every state capital. So, I mean, you know, I do think that we got to keep that in mind when we talk about this. You're in the military, you own guns? Oh shit, Sarah coming in. Holy fuck. What about banning people who are bullying others on social media? I mean, we can have an in-depth conversation about censorship and stuff. I don't know. It's a complex subject, and I don't think that the current context provides enough like nuance, in my opinion. So I'd rather just talk about Donald Trump trying to kill Congress members and his own vice president. Yo, do you think Nico House is going to debate me again? Let me see if he responded to my message. Oh, Lauren Boebert's trending again. Oh, it's just leftovers? Okay. Oh my god. He was hella mad. We'll see. To my understanding, they're already setting up the cope, so we'll see. Now again, direct threats are never covered under free speech, President. Bait company or not. I don't know what the last part of that sentence is about, but yeah, I mean, if you say you want to kill someone, I don't think that that should be protected under free speech. I just don't think so. I disagree. That's just my opinion, though. I don't know. Not a single one of you butt farts would confront me face to face. Fucking butt farts? What? What is a butt fart? Like, is there an alternative sort of fart? I'm confused. What? Glenn Greenwald took Bill Barr's summary of the Mueller report at face value the minute it was put out. What a fucking hack. Glenn Greenwald's really bizarre. Like, a really, really, really bizarre individual. Oh. Ostomy? What is an ostomy? Ostomy. I see. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so I don't know how long this is gonna last. I really don't. So I really don't. But we'll see. Fucking top damage wizard. Yeah, lol, I totally would. All I do is fight and lift. All I do is fight and lift. I don't, I don't eat breakfast. I don't sleep. I don't, fucking read by the fucking fire. I don't fucking watch television. All I do is fight and lift. I literally, holy shit.
The Constitution and laws of our country.
They're voting to proceed with impeachment. So, they debated on proceeding with impeachment, which is basically them just debating on impeachment. And then after they vote to proceed with impeachment, then they'll debate, and then they'll vote on impeachment. To my understanding. Could be wrong, though.
On HRES 4.1.
I'm old. I just want one more good brawl in. Oh my god. Fucking brawl. I just want to brawl. Fucking all I do is lift and fight. The best part about that is, what are you lifting? Like a hairbrush? I'm gonna lift my hairbrush, right? All I do is lift. Forums like Twitter and Facebook are used to spread lies and openly plot resurrections. Interesting. And absolute free speech morons say private companies must provide. I don't like the idea of censoring regular people. I am very, I don't, as much as I don't like Q and stuff like that, I don't mind. The warning labels. If they want to do the warning labels, the info in these messages is unconfirmed or something. If they want to do that, like what YouTube does, for example, when you scroll down on YouTube, the Electoral College has confirmed Joe Biden, right? I like that. That's fine. I would prefer to have the warning labels and that's it. That's my scenario. Now, if a president of the United States is trying to incite a civil war, I think that's a different calculation. Which is why I don't want to conflate the two subjects of Trump getting banned and regular people getting banned. Regular people getting banned is very problematic, but a president getting banned is problematic, but I think that, it can be less problematic given certain other potential contexts. But there's another aspect to it where it's every case should be transparent. Right? So, for example, when someone gets a YouTube strike, it doesn't tell you what you violated in the guidelines. It just says, yeah, we think you did this, so we're going to give you a strike now. Okay? I would prefer, if they were going to take this executive action to ban people, they need to be transparent. They need to provide timestamps, and if it's a video, provide a timestamp. Say, for example, at 3:15, you said X, Y, and Z, and that's a bad thing because whatever. And, that would be the best possible scenario. They explained why they banned President Trump They don't explain why they ban transgender activists. They just ban them. Another one of these problems are the automated systems of banning and censorship. I'm absolutely against algorithms in tech when it comes to social media. They should not have robots dictate who is allowed and who is not allowed to post on social media. Plain and motherfucking simple. Also, Rick's Americana, did I ever thank you for the super chat? I don't think I did. I'm so sorry. $5, you're doing a great job, thanks. I don't think I ever thanked you. I'm so sorry. I'm a piece of shit. But yeah, and I think that these are all separate conversations. New York City just canceled all contracts with the Trump organization. Cool. Cancel culture. Cancel culture. Does C-SPAN have callers?
While some GOP House members complain about having to walk through metal detectors, National Guard troops spent the night sleeping on marble floors of the U.S. Capitol. Also, a photo from Emily Cochran of the New York Times with this photo of troops posing in front of the statue of Rosa Parks.
Maryland seek recognition.
Madam Speaker.
All right, I don't care. Interesting. Mayo on cereal. I think that sounds like an abomination. Fun Police, $1.99. Andrea, do a reaction to Electric Wizard Drugula. What is that? C-SPAN callers. Dude, I had C-SPAN on in the background this morning. They had this fucking crazy bitch. Yo, my God, I am tired. They had this crazy bitch from Texas go like, the election was, we gotta just need to find out. They won't let us find out if the election was secure. It's like, dude, what? Oh my God, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, only the...
Fucking. Ugh. But yeah, how's it going, everyone? I didn't have any prep. I don't have any material planned. If you want to send me stories, I'll check them out live, right? But I'm just chilling. We're just waiting for the impeachment stuff to start up again. So, what are you gonna do, right? I mean, I guess theoretically I could take a break and eat food. Right? Wouldn't that be smart? Take a break, eat some breakfast, and then start streaming again in 40 minutes when the vote's done. Maybe. Maybe that would be a good idea. I don't know. Or I can just sit here and do nothing. Right? Live stream cooking with the bitch. That's not really feasible. I don't think I can with my cell phone. Forced the vote was Trump's attempt to avoid impeachment before this coup. I disagree with that. I think forced the vote was just a dumb idea in general. I just stretched my legs and holy shit. Swear to God, that felt really good. Apparently there's an AOC video. What is this?
I had a pretty traumatizing event. As for myself, I had a pretty traumatizing event happen to me. And I do not know if I can even disclose the full details of that event due to security concerns, but I can tell you that I had a very close encounter where I thought I was going to die. And you have all of those thoughts where, at the end of your life, and all of these thoughts come rushing to you. And that's what happened to a lot of us on Wednesday. And I thought I did not know if I was going to make it to the end of that day alive. And not just in a general sense, but also in a very, very specific sense. And, you know, I think it's an opportunity for a lot of us to talk about trauma as well. One thing that I can say is that in the aftermath of this,
I mean, she definitely looks like she hasn't slept in a couple days. Like, you can just tell that she hasn't gotten a good night's sleep in a while.
There's been a lot of counselors and there have been physicians in the house talking about the importance of, you know, some of the rapid response that happens, and that what we can do in our minds and our brains after you are exposed to a traumatic event. And I think what's really important is that, you know, because whenever any person has an encounter where they think they're going to die and they go through that process, that is a traumatizing event. And you don't have to, things don't have to get that far for something to be traumatizing. I once really excellently heard trauma, and I'm so sorry to whoever is the author of this thought, because I don't remember who said this, but I once heard trauma described as too much, too fast, too soon. And so when psychologically a development happens that is way too much, way too jarring for an individual, if it happens or if something happens.
That's a very good descriptor, I think. As someone who's had several near-death experiences in my life, I mean, I can concur with this absolutely.
That happens way too fast, or if it happens way too soon, that could be a traumatizing event for a person. And I think what's really important is that, you know, there are degrees of it, but for a lot of people, whether you are a service member who served in our armed forces abroad, whether you are a person that maybe experienced domestic violence, any traumatizing event at all could, you know, Wednesday's events could have been very triggering for you too. And you don't have to have been there. You could have just seen it on TV. You could have just heard about it. But if you at all feel unsettled in a deep way, that your intuition is kind of telling you, you know, something's not right, go check in with somebody. You know, there's no problem with that. There's no shame in that. It's healthcare. Mental health care is healthcare, which is why, by the way, why we fight for mental health care to be included in healthcare provisions and bills like Medicare for All. Anyways.
There you go. Well, that's a clip from TYT Investigates, but there you go. Interesting. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break here. I will be live with more of the impeachment coverage very soon. But I think I'm going to take this opportunity to eat, because I don't know if I'm going to have this opportunity again afterward for a while. So I'm going to take this opportunity to eat, walk the doggy. That's right. I'm going to walk the doggy. And I'll be back, and I don't know. I'll set up the next stream page. But I'll be back when I'm back, okay? So, thank you for watching this part one for now. I'll be back very soon. And if they do start the debate and I'm a little late, I'll just do the same thing I did with like the 2 times speed or whatever until we catch up. So, thank you everyone. I will be back very shortly. And yes, so there you go. That's yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but
I don't even talk about that. Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
Get your words straight, Jack.
And then they have cans of soup. Soup. And they throw the cans of soup, cops, at our police force. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family. My family. My family. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family. Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that.
Lying dog-faced pony show. You said you were, but now you gotta be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Really, how many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, "Oh, the hell with it, I'll move back in." You know, it doesn't sound like very normal. You mean they moved out and what? They missed it so much that they wanted to move back in?
Well, and then
Bad deal, should have never been thought of. But you have to go home now. Isn't it wonderful to allow protesting? No.
Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch a campaign with the man Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine in the membrane.